Hello, hello. Well, welcome to the Creative Amplifiers recap show. And this is something new we've been doing to kind of go back and review some of the things that our guests have said, because they've dropped so many great knowledge bombs and so much information. So we wanted to kind of review certain points and tell you what we thought about some of the things and offer some tips from ourselves too. Hi, Mark. Hi, Neil.
Good evening,
Hello.
good
How
afternoon,
are
good
you guys?
lunchtime.
We're good.
I know.
We're good.
Good, good, good. So today we're going to go back to Marielou show, which was fantastic. And she was talking about her perspective of going live versus doing a recorded video and the differences between all of that. So Mark, if you could roll that video, that would be great.
I think the advantage is that you just got to do it. You're there, you're on stage, it's happening, you just go. But like when you're pre-recording, this is where you have more of a chance to get on top of yourself. So typically most like branded content that I do, if it is something that is like a sponsored video, I will pre-record it because that kind of video is going to get the B-roll, it's going to get multiple angles. I want to make sure all the talking points are specifically there because that is what that offer is. But live streaming for connecting with the community, like I feel like recording long form, short form, and live stream videos all kind of serve a different purpose for me, but I also see a difference between a live stream and a live show. Now, a live show is like what you guys are doing here, Creative Amplifiers, right? There's a run of show, there's a format, there's guests, there's a deliberate purpose for the time that we hang together, which is also awesome. And I think that a lot of people should start there.
Couldn't agree more.
I couldn't either. So we had a very interesting, we've been pre-recording a few episodes of this prior to this, which was actually our first time, which was very interesting because we've been going live all this time. It was a lot of fun, a lot of laughter, but I'm just curious with the delineation that she made about going live streaming, pre-recorded, what you guys felt about that, having done it individually and now us having done it as a group. And any advice you have to give to content creators?
I think for me, it's that sense of we're live now, so let's have a conversation and let's do it. And whatever will be. And, you know, you have skills, I think, that you hone and you get better at. And it's going to be different when you first start than when you're a few years in. I think the problem when you're doing specifically recorded content is the fact that you can overthink it and it's okay. And I think Katie mentioned this on the time she was on as well. It's like, oh, I can do that again, or that wasn't quite right. And then you don't quite have the same flow. Whereas we've now just been on air for 3 minutes and what was on air is on air. And that's kind of all you can do. And for me, there's a freedom with that, which I really like. And I like the fact I'm sort of in the Alec camp of kind of, I'd rather set all the scenes up. I'd rather do what I'm doing and do the best job that I can rather than having to think about the post side of it. But I think that's probably the musician in me. It's the performer in me. So yeah, being live is something I really enjoy. And I think that's the reason why.
And is there a piece of advice you would give to a content creator as they enter one of those realms?
I think experience is key. I think you shouldn't worry about trying to be the people maybe that you've watching because they're much further down the track than you. Yes, take hints, tips, ideas of what they're doing, but just realize that you need to get the reps in. And so maybe having that plan of where you want to be is great, but just do the reps, do what you need to do and allow it to grow organically. I still hear some of my podcasts, even from not that long ago, and they're so different than they are now. And I didn't consciously try and do anything different other than the experience of it. And I think being more relaxed, because it's like anything, the more you do, the less you think about it, and the more it's just another one. So even if it's a bad one, for example, it's a bad one of 400 as opposed to I've only done 3 and I'm not sure the first 2 are that great. So we'll sort of see if anyone's going to sort of keep going with this. So yeah, just head down, do what you need to do, keep it going.
That's great advice. And Neil, what do you have to say about pre-recorded versus live streaming versus going live?
There's definitely a difference, obviously. And I think to Mark's point, to overthink things when you're doing the pre-recorded content is just the way that it is, because you have that fallback, you have that cushion where I'll just do another take that wasn't correct, I'll just re-edit that later. Or the other thing is I can edit in post. So I'm not going to worry too much about getting it 100% right. I can go back and edit. I think to Marilou's point, though, there is definitely a distinction between a live stream and a live show. But I don't think you can just free flow and do a non-structured live stream just starting off. Because as we all know, when we've started off doing live streaming, we're typically streaming to nobody. There's nobody that's joining us. There's no audience interaction. So effectively, you are doing what you would deem to be a pre-recorded structured show, but you just happen to be doing it live. So there's no retakes. There's no going back. But I still think that you need to have some form of run of show, some indication of what you're talking about, because you can dry up very easily. And if you don't know what your next thing is on the list, then you're done. Live stream's finished. You're like sitting there. There's that sort of uncomfortable silence, unless you've got banging music playing in the background. Then what else are you going to do? So I think for me, there's always a distinction between having some structure, even in any live show that I do. Typically, even if it's for a subject matter that I'm interested in, or I'm trying to just demo a little bit of software, I'll have some points written down just so I know what I'm going to cover. And then if nobody turns up, I know when the natural end of that show is going to be, and I'm done. But for pre-recorded stuff, I do take my time. I also have a structure there. I do use scripting where I can, just so I can get the technical points across and not mess them up. But yeah, it's there are very differences between the two formats, I think, definitely.
Is there one thing you would tell a person starting out?
Yeah, just don't do it. No, enjoy it. Is what I would say. Is just have something in mind that you want to talk about, and just have a little structure, even if it's just a few bullet points, just to keep you going with the flow. I know some people, it's very easy for them to just sort of wax lyrical about something, and if they're passionate about it, then it's fine. But for me, I do need to have some structure. So just keep in mind, have something structured, something written down to help you guide you through that live stream. Even if it's, as Marcus said, even if it's just a couple of scenes, to know what you're switching to next. If it's showing like a demo of something, or a screenshot, or a YouTube video, whatever it might be, just have those pre-planned and ready to go. It doesn't have to be War and Peace, just something that keeps you on point.
No War and Peace, huh?
Please no.
It's so funny. I'm completely on board with you. You know, I like a good run of show or some loose structure, especially with what we do. I'm going to go on a technical side with this, with the live streaming and even with the pre-recorded. Things are going to go wrong. So have some kind of proactive backup plan. Whether you suddenly need to have your an extra cable for some reason. I'm looking at this here because this crapped out and I had to have it. Cam links will crap out, you know, if you can afford to have a second one, but just have a backup plan because something is going to happen. I learned that when I used to do my cooking show, you know, suddenly all the cameras weren't where they were supposed to be. And so you're trying to press the button. So just have things lined up and be proactive about the possibility of something to go wrong. Knock on wood, you'll have a beautiful show and it won't happen. But if you have a run of show and you know where you're going and what you want to say, and you're not trying to say it verbatim, and you just have some kind of backup just in case, I think that's one of the things I would offer to somebody's just starting out. So you're not flustered and, you know, if your show goes down, it'll come back up again.
I think one thing I would say, and this is something I've experienced recently, is the fact that having done so many podcasts, I'm happy to chat for a long time and just keep that going, and it feels absolutely fine. And the structure of my show was I had a bit of an intro. I've then got a pre-recorded introduction about the guest so people know what was going on. Then there's the interview and a little bit of an outro at the end. Now, I got very good at doing the intros almost without much editing, but I was doing it audio only. And I knew that if I wanted to, and I used to start to have the phrasing and the kind of a cadence, which allowed me, if I needed to change something, take a bit of silence out or whatever, I could do it really easily. Now, since I've started recording them video as well, I suddenly thought, but now I want to do the introduction, obviously, to camera, but I don't want to have the jerky start stop feel. I actually want it to be, no more than 2 minutes of an introduction, but it's all one take. And the ridiculousness is the fact that it was almost one take when I was doing it audio with the odd little thing. Can I do it one take now with video? Not quite so much. And so it's interesting, just that idea of what you can and can't do, or your perception of what that happens to be, can just sort of really dry you up. And so even now I don't have that same freedom, and I'm finding it fascinating and interesting. Like I say, is there a tool or something that you actually need to do that? And as we've sort of discussed quite a bit, I think the prompter, for example, might be something which is going to help, because it just enables that kind of connection in a way for me, maybe to have those bullet points that I can just chat and have a natural kind of ebb and flow in some way. So yeah, it's interesting how even when you think you're set and you know how to do these things, something changes, either because you wanted it to, or other reasons, and it changes your setup or your experience.
Yeah, it's funny how when the lens is suddenly there, everything changes, But I'm going to go back to Mark again. What tool do you like to use in this process that has really helped you, whether it be live streaming or pre-recorded? What's your go-to thing?
So the one thing I would say now, obviously after Ecamm, is the Stream Deck. And just because it just gives me that flexibility to be able to keep chatting to you if we're going to be changing scenes. There are certain things where I just know where they are all the time. Helps me in my podcast, in the live stream, but certainly for our show as well. There are just key things which we couldn't do in the same way, or I couldn't do in the same way, and still be part of the wonderful hosting panel, as it were. If I was literally having to do it all just with a mouse, it just wouldn't be the same. So yeah, the more kind of elaborate that we've been able to do, and the more things we've added, the Stream Deck's been even more of a godsend, really.
Neil, how about you?
Well, Mark mentioned that this as well. So the teleprompter for me, since getting the Elgato prompter, as much as I hated that thing when I first got it because it didn't work properly, it's been an absolute godsend. I'm using it right now. I'm keeping eye contact, hopefully, with the both of you. And it's much easier to have a teleprompter to be able to use it for keeping you on point, either scripting or whatever it might be. And there's lots of great use cases for the prompter. Back in the day, I used to use Post-it notes taped to my lens to help me with certain things on point. But now with these little teleprompters and the ease of use, that's my go-to, and I use it pretty much every day for everything that I do in terms of recorded and live content.
I just have a picture of all these Post-it notes.
Yeah, it was a mess. It was a mess. Yeah, they're everywhere. Over on me as well. It's like
on your cat walking by.
Stand still, I'm trying to read. Exactly. You know
That's
me too
so
well.
funny. You did. So I agree. I use the Elgato prompter. It's been a godsend, and the Stream Deck is amazing. I am going to go with an app. I'm going to go with Notion, because in trying to pull all this together and figure out your run of show or just anything, it just allows me to be able to filter through my thoughts, to put my script where I want it, to find everything. Because Neil has gone away.
Oh,
He's gone.
Was it something I said?
That live happens, and you've just mentioned to me.
See,
I
there you
think my
go.
camera has just gone offline. So
Gone offline.
I'll be right
See,
back. Give me a sec.
This is what I was talking about. Live things will
Never know.
happen. But funny. I think that having that app for me has been really, really beneficial. Just to keep everything organized, because there's nothing worse than trying to find a script. You put it somewhere, it's in a file, you can't find it. Just keeping everything in one place really helps with the process of going live or doing a pre-recorded video. So
I've got a new tip. And that's to do the dock thing, which is to make sure you've got backup photos in case anyone disappears on your live stream. So you can immediately just have a nice picture of someone that's there, which I will start doing as of our next live stream.
Yes.
While we're waiting for Neil to come back.
Oh, we're waiting for
Don't
Neil
have
to
a
come back.
picture.
And to piggyback on that tip we talked about is having a way to contact your guests should something like this, they go offline. Was that us, or I don't know if that was a client I was working with, just to be able to contact them. through their phone to be able to text them so that you can either maybe help them get back online or let them know what's going on. Just keeping that line of communication. I know during our show we have Slack so that we can talk to each other. There he is. He's emerged. You're on your second camera. I love it. The new shot.
Yeah. My always have a
See,
second camera, you see, because it's all gone horribly wrong. My camera, it says it's exhausted, a bit like myself. So there you go. What can you do?
there you go. What, was it gardening with you? What's happening?
It
Neil's
was
been
it was
gardening a
gardening
lot.
with me.
So, yeah. So
Yes. Yeah.
again, case in point, stuff happens. And so you have to have, you were proactive. You got that second camera.
Mm.
So there you have it. We were talking about extra tips while you were
Oh, right.
re-emerging to us.
I have to move everything around now.
Yes. Mark was just saying that he was taking a page out of Doc's book about, now I just forgot.
Oh, it's because we haven't got pictures of ourselves for exactly this situation, so
Right.
I could have
Yes.
immediately just put you
There
up
we go.
there.
Yes.
But it's good to be a learning experience for everyone watching as well. So
Yeah.
just a use case scenario. Do what you're
Yes.
told, not what you should do.
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
that's great.
So Neil, since you left us, is there anything you want to add to finish off the conversation here about going live streaming, what could happen, pre-recorded?
Well, clearly you can see what's going on. My camera is plugged in and it doesn't have a dummy battery, so it does rely on having some battery on charge to keep it going, right? So when that battery gets critically low, even if it's on charge, it's not going to work. So maybe dummy batteries are
There you
the
go.
next step for me to have, or have a second camera that's set up already. But it's other tips. Dummy batteries. As Mark said, have the photo behind. And we do teach these things, and
Yeah.
and now here we
This-
are having the problem
is-
ourselves.
It's a learning show today.
Yeah.
It's
And
definitely a
I
learning
think
show
part of it
today.
is that you get used to things going really well. I mean, I think we had that one show where my internet had gone down and you managed to do it through your Starlink, Neil, and that
Right.
kind of worked fine.
Yeah.
But other than that, things have been pretty seamless. So you kind of get into that sort of, full sense of security, is the fact that,
Yeah.
live stream's fine. This is fine. It's always fine until it's not. And then you
Till
sort of
it's not.
realize that's the case.
So the key is don't get too comfortable, folks.
Exactly.
Just
Never.
be ready.
Never.
Exactly.
I think
Be
one thing that I would say though, what is comfortable for me especially, is having you two wonderful people to bounce ideas off. And as we do this live show, it's not one person who's having to constantly think about, well, what's the next question or what we're going to talk about next. And there's always somebody that can pick up the conversation, run with that, and sort of bounce ideas off each other. So, they always say safety in numbers. And for me, doing this show, it is wonderful to be able to do this with you, and it's so much easier when there's three of us as opposed to just one person having to constantly think of things to do. So
Yeah, absolutely is. Now,
Agreed. Absolutely.
we've got a few people in the chat. Do you want me to bring up a few comments?
Yeah.
while we're here?
absolutely, it is
Please
live
do.
after all. Thank you for joining
Thank
us
you.
at
Yeah.
zero notice. We just go
So-
live now, and that's how it works. So
And
I have
just-
to look at
I'm-
the prompter this way. It's very confusing. So
Exactly.
sorry.
Well, we'll do a few things just so that we can. Let's see what's going on. You were missed immediately, and but I just want to. I'm not sure if Marcus is concerned or whether he was didn't realise that we were going to do a review show of.
everybody gets marked, Marcus. So
it's fine.
Just wait.
We send you the crit sheet and everything before, so it's not a surprise when we turn up live and do it. And so probably the case. Maybe he thought it was today. Maybe that was it. Maybe he didn't realise it was coming through. It's just that he was first in, and I appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much. Really do. And I've just spotted
What'd you
the
spot?
one, the only. George is in
George,
there.
He is.
we
George.
missed you.
We missed you, George.
Now,
Missed
George,
you
there
the
are
other-
a couple of things. There are a couple of things we need to talk to you about. One, we did miss you on the last stream, and we hope you're well. I'm glad you're back. The other thing is that if you didn't know, we've got a party on the 30th of May, our end of season party. Now, this is really important for you because there's absolutely no possible way that anyone else can win the quiz because of the number of things you've got right already. So if you want to make sure that you know what's going on, and there may well be something which you want to be aware of is going to be available, then make sure you're there on the 30th. So first of all, there are two things that we want you to do. Is one, we want to make sure that you're going to be there. And also, we want to make sure that we can contact you as well. So if you can contact us on our link tree, that would be fabulous. In fact, I can probably
Yes, the
do
little
this
QR
here.
code situation.
If you
Always
can
have a
take
call to
note of
action,
that.
people.
Yes. So
There you go.
linktree/Crypto Amplifiers, and send us your details, or we can contact you via the socials. So that would be really, really good, because let's just say we need to maybe celebrate what your wonderful quiz expertise as we were going through. Awesome, awesome, great
Thank you,
stuff.
George.
Brilliant.
And it's 4 p.m. Eastern, right? I think we made it a 30 minutes earlier than our normal time slot Thursday show, because Thursday show is normally 4:30 Eastern, and I think it's going to be 4 p.m. Eastern on the 30th.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Midday, Lisa, was it for you?
Were we doing noon or 1? Noon or 1?
What's 4 p.m. Eastern your time?
1.
Okay, so we were doing it.
On the clock then.
We were doing it an hour.
This is all very loosey goosey, guys. We're pulling it together.
Exactly. So
we will post a
Yes.
scheduled live show ready to go very soon. So watch this
We
space.
will.
Sorry.
make sure
We
you're on the
definitely
socials.
will.
Make sure we know. Yeah.
Neil, you have a good profile, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm liking this. It's very, very regal.
Very regal. Oh my. Thank you very much. I'm embarrassed now. I'm not sure what to say to that. Let's move on. Quite embarrassed. I'll turn the camera off again. It's probably easier.
Oh
And
my
the camera
God.
will be
Brilliant.
switched off.
George is going to be in New York, so brilliant. 4 p.m. is good. Good.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Excellent
And it is.
stuff.
4 p.m. it is for George.
We're done. We're
There
in.
it is.
We're
It's
on
done.
there.
1
Awesome stuff.
p.m.
Right.
Pacific Standard Time.
George is the only one that
Absolutely.
matters. So there you go. That's it. Just kidding.
Oh my
Wow, we're
gosh.
getting all the
So many
people
of you
joining. This is going to turn into a long
This
show
is-
now. Look at it.
I know.
Everybody's
This
doing it.
might turn into a long show. Who else? I see new people have popped in.
Yeah.
Goodness me. It's creeping up.
La la.
Oh,
5:38 a.m. and she's come to join us on our live stream.
Oh,
I don't
gosh,
feel we
thank
can do
you.
anything
That's
but
wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh,
I know,
appreciate it.
I
Really
know.
appreciate it. So as everyone's here, look at this. It's like the whole gang's here. It's amazing.
Wow. Hi.
Like a party. The
Yeah.
party's
I
not
know.
today.
No, exactly. And everyone's turning up. So should we, while everyone's here, should we throw the questions, Lisa, that you sort of asked us that we were talking about to the chat? If there's anyone who's got anything they want to say or add to what we were doing.
Yes,
So do you want to sort of do a
that would
little recap for those that have just joined?
Yes, just a
Splendid.
little bit of recap. We went back to Marielou show when she was talking about the difference between live streaming, and pre-recorded video. And so we just gave our little 2 cents. We gave our 2 cents each, 6 cents of what we thought and any tips we had. Yes, I did the math right. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for double checking. I need a calculator. So I would love to know, we would all love to know what you feel about going live streaming and pre-recorded. Is there a preference you have to it? Or do you just love it all? Let us know.
Do you love it all? We love it all.
Love it all? Some people might love it all. Some people, just do it because that's what they have to do for their business. So please comment, bring in the comments, because we're here. We're here for you. This is an impromptu, fun join in. We want to know what you know. We want to know what you think. Don't hold back.
Exactly. I'm so impressed that so many
Please.
people have turned up. This is amazing.
I
we've
know.
probably just
I'm
been-
marveling
know.
at this. Thank you, guys. This is great.
Yeah.
Maybe this is our new live stream time for season 2. A little bit later.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So
If
the
Lala's
honest-
going to join us, then there you go. That's
We
amazing.
definitely are. Oh, there we are. Dan hates
Ah, there we go.
pre-recorded. Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough.
So
Curious-
why, just a question for Dan then.
why?
So why is that, Dan? Is that because you feel it's inauthentic, and we were talking about that before on another pre-recorded show, or is it because you don't get the interaction and the live dynamic that you would get with a live show? I think there's definitely a place for pre-recorded material, specifically for tutorials and things like that. But yeah, that is an interesting point.
Yeah. So
Not
Dan said
natural.
it's not natural. Yeah, that's kind of what I
Right.
think we were sort of alluding to a little bit, was the fact you can
Yeah.
start to overthink it, and it's not like a conversation. We've
Right.
had a very interesting experience today, because we've done a few pre-recorded videos this evening, or this evening for me, and some of them are just like what we've been doing. It's a conversation. It's kind of all what it is. It just happens to be recorded, and we weren't live streaming. Very much what we do. And then we had to do a video, which was a little bit more kind of subject specific. We had a few things we needed to get across, and we just had to do it sort of quickly. Should have been a piece of cake. Didn't work quite so much like that, and it was hilarious. But it was really difficult for some particular reason, and so it was really interesting for us to kind of have to sort of bring that out. So yeah, interesting to sort of how that kind of works and what it goes in. So yeah, we've got a couple more here. There's Lala. Let me just change to here. So
Yeah, and I have a question. I'll do Lala's thing, but I have a question about what you just said.
So Lala said, so don't know how to do recorded videos, so I started my channel purely live streams and recently learned how to do the recorded videos and doing both. Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dan's just said, not inauthentic. It's because I get my own head when pre-recorded as opposed to the flow. Yeah, exactly. That's definitely
Yeah.
the way I like it. And we have Daniel in the house.
Daniel,
Hello,
hey,
Daniel.
Daniel.
Thank you so much for being
Daniel.
here. Like going live better because there's no going back. Absolutely. No stopping, no pausing. Once you hit live, once you hit you go live. And yeah, exactly. And if you can't read and you can't speak during that, then that's just the way that it comes across.
It is what it is.
It is
So
what it is.
I have a question back to our Laugh Fest trying to record that video. And it was it wasn't even a minute long, and we were laughing so hard. But is it because we did not have a plan? We were trying to do this on the fly. Because when you think back, we did a few
Yeah.
other pre-recorded, and we kind of knew what we were going to cover and who was going to say what. And we didn't have that. And so we were all in our head trying to figure out what the heck are we doing. And then, just being the three of us, it turned into a laugh fest, which is
Because it
why,
does, yeah.
because it does.
As it typically
So
does.
do you think that was part of the problem with the process of us trying to do that?
I think
Yeah. And for me, sorry, go ahead.
No, after me. So
It's obviously late where they are.
Go
Oh
ahead, Mark.
my.
I insist.
This is like one of our meetings.
yeah. So I think for me, the time scale makes a difference. So if you're gonna, let's say we're streaming for half an hour, if there's a few little fumbles and whatever, it doesn't make any difference. If you've got a run of show, we're going to start here. It's going to look a bit like this. We know what the scenes are. The rest of it doesn't matter so much. If you're doing something within a minute, every second counts and every second kind of shows up. And so it's almost that the lack of script at that moment does make a difference, because you kind of feel like you've blown it almost straight away, and then you do get in your head. So, and I think we kind of naturally got there in the end. Is the fact that the bullet points, even for a short video, got longer, and what we communicated in advance got more specific, and actually we kind of did what we do long form in that short way, and it was quite an organic process in the end, and it shouldn't have taken 5.5 hours, but that's another matter.
Was it only 5.5 hours? Goodness me.
It was
that
only
just
felt
felt
like
I mean,
That's short for us.
it is short. But I think, Lisa, to your point, I think had we known what we were supposed to say within that 30-second clip, and just a little bit of a structure like we've had with the other pre-recorded shows, I think we would have got it done quicker. But I think, to Mark's point, because we were thinking on the fly, and you have to do this when it's live, I think it came across a lot better in some way, because we just had an idea eventually when we came to that conclusion what we were going to say, each of us. Then it just happened to flow because we know which part we were going to say each. But yeah, I'm a big believer in a plan of some kind. I don't know. It's just the way that I work. I don't mind doing things like this as well if it's completely off the cuff now and we're free flowing with conversation. But as I said, a plan's always good.
But also, we actually had a plan for our evening together this evening, and we were hit left field. So you know, we weren't
that's
even in
true.
the right
Yeah.
we weren't even in not the right frame of mind, but we weren't in the frame of mind of where we were expecting to be
Yeah.
10 minutes before we had to
Right.
catch the ball,
Right.
so to speak.
That's right. Yeah, we were in the zone, were we? I
Yes.
think, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. If you're not prepared
If we ever
for it,
find the zone, yeah, exactly. That
This
will
has
be
been a
the-
very meta day, though, when you think about the topics we've covered. You guys haven't seen the videos
Yeah.
that we recorded, obviously, but what we're talking about is very real. And, you know, case in point
Exactly.
today, Neil
For sure.
decided to take a break and leave us.
Yeah, and we're not saying that minute and a half was better or not as good. We're just saying that's live. And
I mean, the viewers went up, I think, when I left.
They
so
did,
I mean, I
actually,
can clearly see
yeah.
it was ramping up, and now we've dropped back down again. So there's something not right here. You work it
You
out,
were missed.
guys. You can tell me after the show.
You were missed. You were
Yeah,
missed.
exactly. So we've
It'll be
got
the
a couple.
creative amplifier by the time we're finished. It'll just be one.
Well, we always know it's eventually going to be a one-person show. It's just a question of how quickly we
Your
get
cat,
there.
it'll be your cat. Your cat will
You
take
really
over,
can't-
Neil.
Yeah, just like that.
Oh, and haven't seen them, it really will be. Oh dear.
It will be, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
dear.
We've got a
Gosh.
couple more comments here. That's, so let me bring this one up.
I think it's wonderful that we've got so many people joining us
Yeah,
on this
this is
completely, ad hoc show.
Yeah, exactly.
Random time.
So as a video editor, I'm more accustomed to recording as opposed to live. Not sure if I'm ready for people to see me thinking in real time. Yeah, I can. That's very interesting, and it also there is a sense of kind of what that time looks like compared to what it feels like, because it can feel like an age, but actually, I think sometimes it just comes across as a natural kind of pause and an ebb and flow. It just depends on, your perception of it. And I think if you start to panic, maybe that comes across in a way, whereas maybe that goes back to what we were saying before about sort of just being at ease and a bit of experience. But
I think what was interesting for me a couple of weeks ago is I went live on a Saturday, which I typically don't do, just to test Zoom comments and just messing around with the beta version of Ecamm. And a couple of people started joining. It's like very nice, and I had a conversation with Keith, and then before I knew it, 3.5 hours had gone by, with different people just popping in and out, talking and messing around with things. And it's amazing how time does fly. I know that it's the old cliche, but when you're having fun, but when you're getting into the flow and talking to people and just being live, time just disappears. And it's the longest time I've ever streamed with this setup. And it was just, it was fun. And like tonight, for example, just going live and doing this ad hoc and having wonderful people join us is great. And 6 hours in, we're still going. It's amazing.
exactly. So Daniel said, well,
Yeah.
he said, I like live better, but it doesn't mean it's for everyone. Hint, hint. Yeah, exactly. Especially when you still need a bit of practice, Daniel. It's very true. But but it is. I think, say, finding your groove with it, I think is kind of a really important thing.
Yeah.
Bit of PTSD for working with the live sporting events. Yes, I can imagine. There's a lot going on and a lot that can come off
a lot.
of those things. And Dan's got a question for Lisa. Do you think it's easier going pre-recorded when you say like you're cooking and following a recipe? Obviously, recipe even. I know you've got a lot of experience in that, having done your live shows within your channel as well as your live streams.
Down there, it's very, very different. The live, I enjoyed the interaction that I had with people that were actually in my space, and we were going live talking to people, and I'm trying to cook and demo, and watching. It's an octopus moment of trying to do all of that. The pre-recorded it's very scripted out. I've got the shots scripted out. It's a whole different experience. I personally like both of them. They're both very different. A lot of people, because I work with food bloggers, don't want to do live because they can't. It's like patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time. You can't do all. It is. You're trying to cook and you're looking at the screen and it's like, okay, I got to talk to who's making this comment or whatever. So it's an acquired skill and an acquired taste, if you like. No pun intended. Acquired taste. I just realized what I did. If you like doing it, but
See, I know.
thank you.
So
I'll be here all night.
So, Mark, can you produce the show, but could you at least just do it better, or just be on top of it?
Mark, you're amazing. I love what you do. So yeah, it's two different. It's apples and oranges. I like both, but yeah. I hope
Yeah,
that answers
good
your
point.
question.
So yeah, if anyone else in the
Good
chat's got
comments.
any questions, please do put them in. We can answer as best that we possibly can, or just sharing our experience. Really, that's kind of all we can do. And I'm always, Neil, from your point of view, from someone who's done so much pre-recorded stuff to live. Yeah, we've sort of mentioned this a little bit before, but just that it was your sort of presentation experience which has sort of helped you in that sort of coming across sort of naturally in this sort of live stream, as well as your pre-recorded stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just by doing, I guess, like you said in our sort of previous shows, experience and things, as an IT consultant, having to deliver, I don't know, complex stuff to people over time, it just comes more naturally the more that you do it. At the beginning, it was horrible. You know, I hated standing up and giving presentations to a live audience. This was before live streaming, you know, physically being in person. It was just something that I dreaded and was just not very good at. And over time, you just have to learn to get through that and overcome the nerves. And it just gets better with experience. And I really like doing the live streaming now. I do find it more dynamic. I love the questions. I love the community. And when you're just doing pre-recorded stuff, there is a purpose. There is a reason for doing it, whether it be tutorials and so on. And I do enjoy that because it's, you know, you can take it at your own time. You can spend days if you want to doing the pre-recorded material. But to Daniel's point, just doing it live, you press that go live button and that's it. You're in the moment and you do the best that you can. And I think just keep at it for people who are just starting off, and it gets better with experience.
I think for you, and this is jumping back again, I'm bringing in a video you guys haven't seen because we just recorded it today. When you know your stuff, and Neil, you know your stuff, Mark, you know your stuff, it just rolls off your tongue. So you can just talk for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, because you know you're grounded in your knowledge. And so I think that's part of being prepared, aside from all the technical and run of show, blah, 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 is if you know what you're talking about, it's going to be a piece of cake.
Yeah, and I think for me, from a I'm a professional musician, have been for 20 odd years. There's something that happens in that live moment, at least so you'll know this from a performing side of things, is that you want to be prepared. There's a live performance going on, and the more prepared you are, and the more experienced you are, the better your sort of overall level is always going to be. But when you have those moments where everything, a bit like the sports analogy, everything, the ball was really big, time stopped, you could do whatever you wanted to be, everyone seemed to be in sync, the music just had an emotional connection with everybody that you can't put into words, and then you suddenly go, there's an experience there that I can't get anywhere else, and there's something magical about that, and you can't do that in the same way in a recorded video. You can do it when it's live and when we're chatting, and you might not even know it. You might not remember the conversation, but we're going backwards and forth. The tech seems to work, or the tech doesn't work. That happens in live performing as well, but it doesn't actually matter because it's just about the connection of me and you is the three of us. That everyone watching here as well, and wherever that happens to be, we're all sharing in one particular moment, and you can't really replicate that easily unless you're live, and we're just doing it over the internet. And I think it's amazing the way that we take it for granted now, but we're many thousands of miles apart from each other, and yet we're having this immediate conversation, having a lot of fun, sharing the time. It's such a fantastic opportunity. And if you haven't experienced live but you want to give it a go, just give it a go. And even if you want to find a safe space to do it, just give it a go amongst your friends and your family, or somewhere unlisted or whatever, and get the reps in.
Definitely. Yeah, you can't replicate that energy. Yeah. Go ahead.
I need to get better with live streaming and music making. Absolutely. I mean, you can all, as Mark just pointed out, and it's a really good point actually, just going unlisted on YouTube, but actually being live just gets you into the flow of what live feels like. There's nobody going to see it. You can invite friends and family if you wanted to by just giving them the YouTube URL. But it is a real nice sort of buffer and safeguard where you can practice the live workflow, having a run of show, as Lisa has mentioned, and just getting that adrenaline going, knowing the fact that I'm actually live on the interwebs. Nobody can actually see me yet, but at least it's giving you that practice and maybe that camera confidence that you may be lacking. So give that a go by all means, because, you know, what's the worst that can happen? Something breaks, you don't like it, you just don't go live anymore, and you can delete the YouTube video. So have a play with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw out a challenge, actually.
Go on.
Oh,
If you're just getting into going live, and I know a lot of you on there aren't, but set up an unlisted to go live 3 days in a row at the same, you know, at this, a time, and just go unlisted. Pretend you're doing a show. Pretend there's people. Invite some friends if you want, but just do it to get your chops up, you know. And
yeah.
and you have a schedule. It's like, I'm going live at 1:00 on Thursday. I'm going to do this, and there's no excuses, and nobody's watching. So, you know, dance like no one's watching, right?
Yeah,
Do your
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Definitely.
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you, Dan. That's really, really, really.
Oh,
And yeah, absolutely. Often have gone live with teaching or interviews. Definitely need to have the practice idea for playing the piano and practicing that adrenaline piece. Yeah, absolutely. The adrenaline makes a really massive difference. And I think the other thing I would say is perspective makes a difference as well. I'll get a little story of one of my performing experiences. I was working with professional ballet company in London. It was a big production. There was a lot going on. I had a lot of I'd say a lot of anxiety, but I was certainly nervous to the point where you're not quite sure how much you're going to cope with these sorts of things. And I wasn't quite sure how to deal with it or where I was at that particular time. And it wasn't a new thing for me. I'd done this sort of thing many times before. And there was a young girl, and it was a Christmas production of Nutcracker. And there was a little girl who was looking over the rail into the orchestra pit. And I suddenly thought, it doesn't matter what I do. She's here to have this magical moment that's going to really be something which changes her life, because I know what this looks like. I know what it sounds like. It's an absolutely incredible thing. And that's why we're here, and we're doing it for her. I'm not doing it to see if the person sat next to me thinks I can play the drums any better than they can, or so-and-so thinks I'm going to play too loud, or I'm going to come in the wrong place. All the mental stuff that goes on for all manner of different reasons. And as soon as you suddenly had that, that's the reason I'm doing it. I can make a difference to that little girl's world in that moment, and me just being me will be fine, whatever I think about the rest of the professional side of it. And yeah, so that idea of perspective, what am I doing? Why am I trying to do it? How can I get better? Let's do that, and sort of help that little girl, whoever it is that wants to sort of improve their life based on what you're able to do. So yeah, really, really good.
yeah. Remembering it's not all about you, if you can uplift one person or change one person's experience or have them have a light bulb moment, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a great
I
story.
might get
Mark.
that frame for our next meeting. It's not just about me. Not about you. No, it's
It's
about
not all
you.
about you. Mark, it's not all
Not
about
about me, it's about you. No.
Yeah, no, it's about you. No, it isn't. No, it's about you.
Well, it's going off the rails already, and
Excellent.
we're only 6 hours in, as I mentioned. So
It's probably that time,
Nice,
isn't it?
Is that
This
time?
is-
It's late
this
for
has
you
been really
guys.
good.
So I think we
it's been
should
great, though.
wrap it up. You guys, thank you so much for popping in and joining us in this impromptu live. It's been so much fun.
Yeah.
Always fun to hang out with you, Neil. Neil's getting
doing
his
this on
weekend
purpose now.
started early.
Yeah, exactly. He's doing
Oh,
this
there
on
he
purpose.
is.
There you go.
There he is.
I never went away. Oh, I'm just a.
Oh,
I'm
it
just
wasn't
a
you, it was
Shadow of
me.
my former self.
Oh my God.
I'm
I
just
have
a
to say,
shadow of my former self.
I've
What?
laughed so much today. It's just been my stomach hurts. It really
You're
does.
very welcome.
So yeah, thank you again. Put anything in the comments on YouTube if you've enjoyed this, you have something to add to the conversation, and we'll pop up again. I don't know when we're going to pop up again. We'll have videos coming up, but this is something we're going to do for sure second season a lot.
Yeah.
Because we enjoy hanging out with you guys and hanging out with each other, and we'll look for you on the YouTubes.
Yeah.
Thanks
he's
for
back.
joining in.
Lovely. See you soon.
Take care, guys.